Hey there, so in this part 1 of 2, we're taking a look at the MOVO VXR10 microphone and some of the uses for it. And the question is, would I recommend the VXR10 microphone in 2019?
Yes.
Or
No.
So it's a compact microphone, it just doesn't look that large on top of your camera, and if you're out and about filming for the day, it really doesn't attract that much attention. Now there's no battery required, that means you don't need to worry about charging it and you don't need to carry spares. It picks up the lower range of the frequencies, so for someone like me, it boosts the lower frequencies and adds a bit more bass out of the camera, which is great. It works well with Canon cameras, and that's a common complaint where Canon cameras tend to boost a microphone signal and cause more hiss because this microphone generates a louder output in the first instance. The preamp inside the Canon camera doesn't need to do so much work and therefore doesn't generate so much hiss. You get the leads in the kit for a mobile phone, whereas a similar Rode microphone you'll have to spend an extra $15 for that lead. In the UK, this microphone comes in at about £35. In the US, that's about $39. So some of the tech specs then, it's a polar pattern cardioid microphone, and what that means is it picks up more of the sound from the front of the microphone than it does from the sides or from the rear of the microphone. And that's something to bear in mind if you want a microphone where you want to capture much more what's going on all around you. The frequency response is from 35 Hz all the way up to 18 kHz. So in terms of a comparison, a Rode mic of a similar kind of quality, whereas this starts at 35 Hz, the Rode one starts at 100 Hz. So this mic, as I'd mentioned before, gives you more bass straight out of the recording. You don't need to add that. And it has a top end of 18 kHz, whereas the Rode equivalent has a top end of about 20 kHz. So you're gaining 2 kHz of frequency. But what that means is the Rode will have a bit more of a brighter sound to it. And in terms of weight, it comes in at a staggeringly small 86 grams. So this really is a compact cardioid microphone. Okay, let's talk about the accessories that you get with the MOVO. You get the basic kind of wire connector for microphone to the camera. That's a 3.5mm. Then in addition, you get the 3.5mm TRRS. That's the one that's got the 4 connectors so that you can attach that to your phone. So you can perhaps see there the difference where there's 4 connections, and then on the one that attaches to the microphone there's only 3. You can tell there's 3 because there's 2 black lines, and on that one there's 3 black kind of insulating lines that go between the cables. You get the carry bag that comes with it. I don't use it for carrying the microphone, I just use it for kind of covering my GoPro to protect that when I'm out and about filming. And then you get the dead cat that comes with it. So this is just going to help protect you from wind noise when you're out and about filming. On a really windy day, it's not really going to cut it, but on a general sort of windy day, a breeze, it works really quite well. I don't think it's as good as the Rode one, but it does a sufficient job and helps to get you out of trouble. Then you have the microphone itself, which you can see here. It's all aluminium made, and on the bottom of it there is a screw thread which enables you to attach it to most camera fittings, quarter 20 I think they're called, as well as the shoe mount, hot shoe mount as well, which is how that's generally attached to the camera. And then there's also the shock mount, which is the little red thing there. It's quite firm actually, it's not as loose and floppy as the Rode one. And that makes me think, because it's loose and floppy on the road, it might be a little bit better and it might actually absorb some more of the actual kind of bumps and knocks that you get with it. But nonetheless, it's a shock mount and that's good. And then in addition, you get an instruction manual with it as well. So that's what you actually get in the box for the MOVO VXR10. Okay, so let's have a think about some uses for this microphone that are slightly different to the obvious of putting it on top of the camera, which I can't show you because I'm actually filming on the camera. So this one, I'm actually using it on a tripod with a selfie stick attached to it, and you can see there I could set that up and that would be fine. If I were outside, of course, I could attach the dead cat to that as well. Here's the second use then. I basically attached the MOVO to the top of a monopod, and I've used this before with a longer cable. So I've replaced this cable with a much longer 3.5mm cable, and I was able to get close to a sound source that I wouldn't have been able to get close to if I'd not been able to put it onto a monopod. So this is very similar to what we just talked about in terms of the selfie stick, but the monopod works really well, and you can actually attach the selfie stick onto the monopod. So it just means you can get quite a distance away from something and still get the sound as well. Very useful. Okay, so here's a setup that I really like. This is the MOVO attached to kind of like just a mini tripod. And what's good about that is that you can just set it up onto the desktop and then attach it to your camera and have it just out of sight, but it really sits quite well on the actual worktop or whatever that you're using, and you can angle it quite well by using the legs to get it to point exactly the direction that you want. The other great thing about this is on the back of it is a kind of clip, and how I've used that as well before is by attaching it to a kind of clip on my rucksack. So it meant that I could attach the microphone to the camera with the connectivity cable, but have the mic sort of separate from the camera but attached to my rucksack. So it meant I could film the outside noises and the ambient noises. I think I was in some woods or something. I just wanted to capture the noise of the birds, but wanted to make sure that that would just continually roll. So I've done that with it being attached to the camera and also being attached to one of these guys. So you can put that in your pocket and have it attached to like this, like so, and just record something separate to having it recorded on the camera, and that works really well. The great thing about using the zoom is you can attach the MOVO to the zoom and then have a headphone out as well, so you can monitor what you're actually recording at the same time. The cameras I have just don't have a headphone output, so it's all kind of quite blind really. Use that I've had for it is by attaching the MOVO to a suction cup, and what I've then done is put the suction cup onto the window of the car, and that's worked quite well in terms of making sure it stays in place and just basically getting a good quality sound from the microphone again by making sure it's securely fixed. Okay, so lastly and not least is the connection to the GoPro setup that I've got for vlogging when I go out and do that. And that, as you can see here, so you've got the Rode mic across the top, you've got the microphone which then goes down to the microphone adapter for the GoPro 7, and that's connected there, and it's attached by the shoe mount to the top of the case, and the case is a Pelouse case with a variable ND filter on top of it. So that's kind of like the vlogging rig, and I think, you know, if it's not a windy day, that it really breaks it down to something that is quite discreet, I guess, really. So yeah, so that's how it kind of fits onto the top of the vlogging setup there. So who's it for then? I think that the MOVO is really for any videographer that wants a good microphone on a budget. Typically, if you have a Canon, it will be better for you than perhaps the Rode, because you don't have that amplification issue, because the output from the MOVO is better from the start, and just really on a kind of, you know, what you get with the kit. If you're a mobile phone user, this is just better value, because you don't have to spend that extra $15, which is nearly getting on for 15% of the price of the microphone, just to be able to connect it to your phone. So would I recommend the MOVO microphone in 2019?